Hello everybody, welcome into Watch Me Wednesday, episode number 66. This is also week number 6 of our Island Breeze Quilt Along. And today I'm coming to you from the design wall instead of the sewing machine. We are going to talk about how to put the Island Breeze together. So welcome on in. I hope that you have enjoyed so far watching how to put this quilt together, or the blocks I should say, because today we're putting the quilt together. I will tell you, welcome in everybody, hi everybody. I will tell you that I'm a little bit chilly today. See, I'm actually wearing a sweater. It is like a polar vortex here for us in Arizona, which is really unusual. They said it's about 10 degrees cooler today than the norm for this time of year for us. So it's just into the upper 50s, lower 60s. So it's a little chilly for us because our blood has thinned for sure, or my blood has thinned. So anyway, but it's super sunny out and I love that. And I did have the windows open, and Quilt Inspector 2 is here with me today. He was helping out and he was watching the birds out the window. Anyway, let's get started. Don't do what, Linda? Or Lisa? Don't do what? What am I not supposed to do? Anyway, I am going to no antifreeze protein in your blood. No, I'm not going to freeze, I swear. This is a very, very super light sweater. Super light sweater. So my blood has definitely thinned though, being out here. When I go into some cold areas, it's definitely much colder on me for sure. Anyway, but it is a beautiful day here, and I hope wherever you are it is the same. So let's get started. So if you're just joining me, this is week number 6 of our Island Breeze Quilt Along. It is also Watch Me Wednesday, episode number 66. So we've got lots of 6s today. So maybe you ought to go play the lottery. You never know, right? So if you're just joining, you can still go back and watch back to week number 1 of the Quilt Along. You can hop in anytime and join the Quilt Alongs group. I'll put the link above my head when we're done. I do have another PDF for you today. It will be in the group that you can download there. But today, we're going to talk about how to put this big boy together. Up until now, I've been showing you how to join the blocks, giving you lots of tips and techniques on how to do that. And I want to share with you, I told you, many of you, and I've been posting it too, that I've actually been working on 2. This is the Laurel Burch version from Clothworks of the Sea Goddess fabric. Which should be hitting your quilt shops sometime in February. So this version you can actually make yourselves when that fabric hits the quilt shops. The other version that I'm making is one that I've actually been making for several years now because I've been using it as a sample in classes. And you can actually make this too because these are made with Kate Fassett classic fabrics. So I finished all my the 4 corners of the quilt. So I finished all of those. And then I finished the half blocks. It's my stack of half blocks. So basically I'm waiting to get this one off of the design wall and put that one up. So then I have my stack of big blocks too, the 13 big blocks. And if I do say so myself, I'm really loving this version, and I don't know why it took me so long to put this one together. But everything's all cut out, so that will go together fairly quickly. So let's get started though on this and how you actually go about the construction. Now, this is a quilt that's set on point. So when you have a quilt that's set on point, the rows go together on the diagonal. It is not a straight set, so you are not going to join together this way. The rows are on the diagonal, okay? So what that means is you are going to be alternating rows. Your rows consist of blocks, sashing, blocks, sashing, blocks. That's one row. The other rows consist of cornerstones, sashing, cornerstones, sashing. That's a row, okay? So you have to join your block rows and your sashing rows. Now what's important here, there's several things, and I'm gonna, I put some of it together so I can point out little tips to you when you join this together. What is important here is that when you start joining these things together, let me show you on this piece right here. So do you see how this, where the geese go together, that has to look like one continuous row, right? So where that cream color is matching, it looks like one continuous row. It's because the sashing is cut the same size as the block. So if you join that properly, you can even find the middles of the blocks and the sashing, so everything points in the same direction. And then it looks like you don't want this cream like over here, because that would, the alignment of that would not look good. You need it to look like it's all continuous, if that makes sense to you. You need to make sure that these blocks are aligned here, this seam is aligned here, this seam is aligned here. So just be careful in that. It doesn't take much time at all, because really if you've cut this sashing the same size as the block, it's all going to fall together. So it doesn't take a whole lot of time to do that. Okay, so that's one thing you've got to take note of. So you will join the sashing to a block, and then another block to the sashing. Now, here's important, the pressing, okay? So if you can see here, the pressing is always, always, always going to be towards the sashing. Okay, that's on every single row, even the rows with the sashing and the cornerstones. Don't press towards the cornerstones. Press towards the sashing, and I'll show you what I mean in a second. So if you can see here, that seam is pressed towards the sashing, okay? And there's a reason. There are no seams here, so it's going to lay nice and flat. If you press them towards the geese, you're going to have bulk in there, so you don't want to do that. So now, hang tight, I'm going to grab something else. Here's a sashing row, okay? So this sashing row, if you take a look, this is pressed towards the sashing, so the blue sashing, not the cornerstone. By doing that, when you join the sashing row to the block row, your cornerstones are going to nest with your blue sashing, keeping it nice and flat. So when you're pressing, everything stays flat, okay? I hope that makes sense. Then, when you join the rows, when you join the block row to the sashing row, hang on, I'm going to grab one down, because I've been busy. So I'm grabbing the big one down from the top here. Okay, so you can see I've joined some rows together, right? So if you take a look at the back, quilt inspector number 1 is here. So if you take a look at the back, so this corner was joined to the sashing, and then this row, if you will, and this row were joined to this row. Everything's still pressed towards the sashing, okay? Everything is pressed towards the sashing, not the blocks. Super duper important. Now, once you've got all your rows together, if you'll notice, I didn't say in the instructions to cut any of the small cornerstones in half on the diagonal so that you would have a square border. So you're going to end up with something like this, okay? Because you're still matching, when you're putting together the rows, you're matching the seams. So you're matching the sashing and the cornerstones. So what happens is you get this look here, okay? Does that make sense? So all you're gonna do is you are going to take a ruler. Now this is the other side. I already trimmed this one down for you. You're gonna take a ruler and you are going to lay it along the edge of the blue or your plain squares and align it and cut it. Cut that off, and what happens is, if you look here, do you see how this is exactly a 1/4 inch here, and this is exactly a 1/4 inch away from the edge, so that when you go ahead and bind that, what happens is, if you can see now, you've got that perfect triangle. Oops, there we go, I'm folding it down. There we go, so now you've got that perfect triangle, which you'll get once you bind that. So if that makes sense to you, that's how you're going to trim that down, because it gives you that 1/4 inch that you need. So you will get something that looks like that, and you're going to lay the ruler down right on the straight edge there on both sides, keeping it straight, then trimming that off, which will give you that 1/4 inch, okay? Now, you want to be careful here. These edges are biased because they are triangles, okay? So if you don't plan on quilting this right away, you may want to put a stay stitch around the entire edge of the quilt, just so that your triangles don't start getting wobbly. And I'm gonna sneeze, I think. Oh, sorry, I've been battling a head cold the past few weeks, or the past few days, I should say, not weeks, thank God. And I'm starting to feel like normal again. Anyway. So, sorry, and I did not sneeze. I have an audience here, though. Quilt Inspector 1 and 2 are here. They are just happy as can be. Anyway, so that's how you're going to get those rows together and the sashing and everything together, and how you're going to trim those corners up. So, once you do that, you are all set to then go ahead and quilt it as desired. Once you have your top together, quilt it as desired and bind. And I'm going to share with you what I'm going to use as for this quilt, what I'm going to use for the backing and the binding. So the binding is going to be this super hot pink fish, which I love. It's going to look really kind of cute. I don't know if you can see it against there. It's going to really kind of frame that up nicely for the binding. And then the backing is going to be this teal color with, and there's little hearts all over them. See the little hearts? So that's going to be the backing for this quilt. So that's what I am going to do with it. I'm hoping to actually have this top done today sometime, and then put the K-facet one up on the design wall so that I can share that along with you. So just to kind of go over things again, to kind of just put it all in a nutshell, you're going to do your rows on the diagonal, and your rows consist of block, sashing, block, and then a row is cornerstone, sashing, until you get all the way from one side to the other, going on the diagonal. You are not going from side to side because this is set on point. So you'll do that, then you will join the rows, and remember, one thing I want you to remember is always press everything towards the sashing, not the blocks and not the cornerstones. If you do that, your seams will nest perfectly. You will have a nice flat quilt. And if you so desire, once you get the quilt top together, you can run a stay stitch around the entire edge of the quilt because you have those bias edges. If you're not familiar with what a stay stitch is, it's basically a basting stitch, and you're going to run it inside about 1/8 of an inch away from the edge. That way, when you go and do your quilting and your binding, you don't have to go pull that out. The binding will cover that right up, so you never have to actually take it out. So that's it in a quick summary of what you're going to do. Get into the quilt group, Quilt Alongs with Canton Village Quiltworks. I'll put the link again if you're not in it. Put the link for you to go in there and grab your PDF for the day. Make sure you're posting your pictures. There are some really, really pretty versions in the group. And Gilly, you have bronchitis. That's not good. I hope you feel better soon. And if anybody else had what I had, thank goodness it was just a cold and nothing more. I hope you all don't get the crud because it's not fun. Anyway, grab the PDF. I'm going to be uploading that to the group so you have your homework. And that's it for this quilt along. We are going to do another quilt along soon. I will be posting a date in the quilt alongs group, as well as announcing it here on my Facebook page. And we'll probably do a poll this time as to which quilt you might want to work on. I'm going to give you time, obviously, to finish this one because I know some of you are probably already there finished with this one finished, but some of you want to work on it a little more. That's great. And I have some upcoming teaching engagements in the near future, so I won't be able to do a quilt along right away. So maybe a few months. I have Quilt Market I'm working towards in May. I have a new fabric line coming out with Island Boutique, which I'm super excited about and can't wait to share all that with you. A lot of the things that I do, I can't share right away, so it's really hard for me because I am in here working all the time. It's just I can't share things with you, and I can't wait to do that. Also, my feline fine fabric should be coming into my shop soon. I'm hoping, and because of that, I will be putting the Olive Flutter fabric on sale because I need to make room for it. And Vera is asking, are the videos accessible later? They're always accessible, Vera. They live here on my Canton Village Quiltworks Facebook page. You just have to go over to the left sidebar on Facebook and click on videos. They're all there. And they are also on my YouTube channel too. You can always subscribe to my YouTube channel, Canton Village Quiltworks. If you subscribe to that, you will always, or you'll never ever miss a video because you'll get an email in your inbox. And they also are in the Quilt Alongs group. So there are 3 places you can access those videos. And you can start, if you haven't started this and you want to start at some other time, you certainly can do that at any time because those videos are here for you to access at any given time. So I hope you have enjoyed this quilt along. I will be back in next week with something different and new, no more quilt along. And I hope you join me then. Don't forget to share this video because we love to have our friends participate with us. It's a lot of fun. And don't forget to post those pictures. I love seeing them, and I know everybody else loves seeing them too. So thanks everybody for joining me today on week 66, or episode 66, week number 6 of the Quilt Along, and it's the final week of this Quilt Along. Thank you for joining me. I hope you have a fantastic week, and happy quilting to you all. Take care. Bye-bye.